Roland Warren here. Recently I read a fantastic book by Zechariah called The Lamb and the Führer, which is part of a series called Great Conversations. It's pretty unique what he does with this series. He creates conversations between Jesus, the Lamb, and historical people. The title references Jesus' conversation with Hitler, while Hitler is in the bunker during the collapse of Germany in World War II. In the epilogue, Zechariah quotes an Indian philosopher who said, "In the pre-modern world, violence was relative. In the modern world, violence will become absolute." Zechariah unpacks the statement. He says it means that violence will become the prevailing ethic in a world in which we all seek ascendance. And Hitler was just a representation of the human heart when violence has become absolute. Zechariah explains that when we deny moral law, everything becomes a pathetic attempt to defend even the abominable. The atrocities we commit in our civil society today are only dressed up with law and language. He adds that the world is reeling with the tricks being played to justify the profane. When I considered Zechariah's words, I was reminded of an article that I read in Salon.com in January of 2013. Pro-choice writer Mary Elizabeth Williams titled her piece, "So What If Abortion Ends a Life?" In the article, she basically encourages the pro-choice side to not look silly by denying what technology is proving more and more every day. A living human being is growing inside of a woman's body. To deny this would make them seem like flat earthers. But here's the troubling thing. Rather than follow her logic, which would lead her to become pro-life, she doubles down in the opposite direction and ends her article with these words. "And I would put the life of a mother over the life of a fetus every single time, even if I still need to acknowledge my conviction that the fetus is indeed a life worth sacrificing." Wow. So here's what I did with her statement. I just replaced the word mother with Nazi and the word fetus with Jew. And the statement reads, "And I would put the life of a Nazi over the life of the Jew every single time, even if I still need to acknowledge my conviction that the Jew is indeed a life worth sacrificing." Again, wow. So I did the same thing using the words slave owner and slave, and it reads, "And I would put the life of a slave owner over the life of a slave every single time, even if I still need to acknowledge my conviction that the slave is indeed a life worth sacrificing." You see my point. You can do the same thing with words like baby boy and baby girl, able-bodied and disabled, youth and elderly. You see, the worldview reflected in Williams' statement is the same worldview held by everyone who has committed the most heinous acts and the cruelest violence in the history of mankind. Why? Because it's a statement about how the powerful will interact with and treat the vulnerable. When one holds this worldview, one basically believes that the powerful have the right and at times the moral obligation to sacrifice the vulnerable for themselves. Of course, as Zechariah says, we dress this stuff up with law and language. We disguise the truth with words like solution, as in final solution, and choice, and mantras like safe, legal, and rare. But when you undress the language and show the naked truth, it's the language of death to those who cannot protect themselves. And this is why we object to abortion with such passion. We understand this, don't we? Moreover, we serve the Lamb. And what did we learn from his compelling example? We learned exactly how the powerful are supposed to interact with and treat the vulnerable. You see, Christ clothed himself in humanity. And when he died on the cross with his arms open wide, he demonstrated a powerful point. The powerful must not sacrifice the vulnerable for themselves. They must sacrifice themselves for the vulnerable. Amen? So as we minister the truth with compassion, the great conversation continues, doesn't it? And we know, just as in the case of Hitler, who has the last word. Until next time, may God bless you daily as you serve him faithfully.